You can be kind, generous, and deeply loving, and still be disrespected. You can do everything right, answer every text, pay attention to every detail, show her how much she means to you. And somehow, she still pulls away. That's the confusing truth most men never understand. Women don't respect men for what they give. They respect men for what they embody. Because respect isn't earned through comfort, it's earned through contrast. When a man stands firm in a world that constantly pressures him to bend, he becomes magnetic. And yet, most men confuse being nice with being strong. They think if they agree, comply, and accommodate, they'll be loved more. But love without respect is fragile. It collapses the moment she stops admiring you. Now, let's be clear. Stoic strength isn't about arrogance, control, or coldness. It's about emotional gravity. The kind of presence that says, I'm calm, I'm grounded, and nothing you do can shake my self-worth. That's the man she can trust, even when she tests him, because make no mistake, she will test you. Every eye roll, every delay in reply, every small disagreement is her subconscious way of asking, can I trust your strength? However, the tragedy is that most men fail these tests not because they're weak, but because they're emotionally untrained. They react instead of respond. They take her distance personally. They think her silence means she's lost interest, when often she's just measuring their consistency. Women don't respect a man who loses control of himself every time something doesn't go his way. They respect the man who stays composed when everything seems to fall apart. And this is where stoicism becomes your silent weapon. While the world screams for attention, you stand still. While others chase validation, you master restraint. Because true masculinity doesn't shout. It whispers through calm confidence. It's not about dominating her. It's about dominating your impulses. When she senses that, she stops doubting you. She starts respecting you, not for what you say, but for what your silence communicates. So today, we'll go step by step into what makes this kind of man untouchable in her eyes. We'll explore why restraint creates admiration, why boundaries trigger desire, and why stillness, not chasing, is what commands lasting respect. Because in the end, she doesn't want a man who loses himself in emotion. She wants a man who can hold emotion without losing direction. Let's uncover the quiet psychology behind respect and why only the men who master their reactions ever truly master attraction. Before we start, a quick reminder. My complete Stoic couple course is now live at thestoiccouple.podia.com. If you've been learning from these videos, that's just the surface. Inside the course, we go deeper, mastering attraction, understanding female psychology, and rebuilding your mindset from the inside out. Join once, and you're in for life, with lifetime access to all future courses, books, and new lessons. Plus, you'll be part of our private Stoic community, a brotherhood where men like you grow together in discipline, power, and self-control. It's available in English and Spanish, and you can enroll instantly at thestoiccouple.podia.com or click the link below. Enroll once, grow forever. Let's begin. Number 1, the foundation of respect: emotional control. Respect begins where emotional chaos ends. A woman doesn't truly admire a man who reacts to every shift in her mood. She respects the man who remains centered in his own. Because emotional control is not about suppressing feelings, it's about mastering them. Think about it. When you're calm under pressure, when you don't flinch at her silence or anger, you silently communicate strength. You tell her without words that you can handle life, handle her emotions, and most importantly, handle yourself. That's the moment when admiration quietly takes root. But when you break, panic, or beg for reassurance, you teach her something else. You show her that her emotional state controls yours. And when she feels that power imbalance, respect disappears. It's not about pretending to be cold or heartless. It's about showing that your peace is non-negotiable. Even if she walks away, even if she tries to provoke a reaction, your calm becomes the mirror that reflects her own instability. Paradoxically, that calm draws her in more than any words could. Because deep down, every woman is searching for emotional safety, a man who doesn't drown in her waves, but steadies the boat. So when you respond with patience instead of panic, silence instead of shouting, direction instead of desperation, she feels it. She may not admit it, but that's when her respect begins to grow. You've shown her something rare. A man who leads himself first. Number 2. Boundaries create desire, not distance. Most men fear setting boundaries because they think it'll push her away. But here's the paradox. Boundaries don't create distance, they create desire. When you set limits with quiet confidence, you don't repel her. You define yourself in her eyes. A woman can only respect what she can't fully control. If she can predict every move you'll make, if she knows you'll always say yes, no matter how she behaves, then your approval becomes meaningless. Boundaries, however, give your presence weight. They show that your time, your attention, and your energy are sacred currencies, not to be spent recklessly, but shared intentionally. When you say no without anger, when you walk away without drama, you communicate that your self-respect is higher than your need for validation. That subtle strength awakens something primal in her: curiosity, challenge, respect. She begins to wonder, what kind of man values himself that much? And that question creates attraction far deeper than flattery ever could. It's not about punishment or control. It's about clarity. You're teaching her how to treat you by how you treat yourself. But here's what most men miss. Boundaries aren't rules for her. They're reminders for you. You're not trying to cage her behavior. You're protecting your emotional center. The more consistent you are, the more predictable your peace becomes. And paradoxically, the safer she feels. Because deep down, women don't test men to destroy them. They test to discover if those men can lead. Every time you calmly enforce your standard, you pass a silent test that words could never win. Number 3. Her tests reveal her fear, not your failure. Here's the uncomfortable truth most men never realize. When a woman tests you, she's not trying to break you. She's trying to believe you. Every delayed reply, every sarcastic remark, every small withdrawal is her subconscious way of asking, can I trust his strength when mine wavers? Yet most men misread these moments as rejection. And that's where everything unravels. Because instead of holding frame, they react. They start chasing, explaining or defending. They rush to fix what isn't even broken. And in doing so, they fail the only test that matters, the test of emotional consistency. You see, women live in a world that constantly pressures them to question safety, not just physical safety, but emotional safety too. When she challenges you, it's not about dominance, it's about trust. She wants to know whether your words are just words, or whether you can hold your center when things get messy. Because any man can seem confident when everything goes right, but real strength appears when things go wrong. That's the moment she sees whether you're built on ego or grounded in discipline. Now, here's where Stoicism enters the frame like quiet thunder. The Stoic man doesn't interpret her behavior through the lens of insecurity. He observes it through the lens of understanding. He knows that her test is not a declaration of disrespect. It's a reflection of her own uncertainty. Instead of reacting, he remains. He listens. He breathes. He waits. Because true masculine power is not shown in how quickly you respond. It's shown in how calmly you don't need to. Every time you resist the urge to argue, explain, or prove yourself, you communicate something far more powerful than words ever could. that you are governed by your principles, not her emotions. And ironically, that's what creates the deepest attraction. Because for a woman, respect begins where emotional predictability ends. She doesn't admire a man she can emotionally manipulate. She respects a man who maintains inner balance, regardless of her mood. Think about it this way. Her emotional storms are not personal. They're natural. They're expressions of the feminine's fluidity, and your role isn't to control them, but to anchor yourself within them. Just as the ocean needs the shore to define its boundaries, the feminine needs the masculine's calm presence to feel safe in her own waves. When she storms, don't drown. Stand. When she withdraws, don't chase. Observe. When she provokes, don't attack. Understand. Your stillness teaches her something about safety that her words never will. And here's the beauty of it. When you stop reacting, she starts revealing. She opens up because she senses that your steadiness can handle her chaos. That's the point when respect silently replaces resistance. What once felt like a test now becomes trust. The dynamic shifts from confrontation to connection, from tension to admiration. Because deep down, every woman yearns to surrender to a man who doesn't need control to lead. So the next time she tests you, don't take it as an insult. See it as the universe handing you a chance to prove, not to her, but to yourself, that your peace is unshakable. That's the kind of strength no woman forgets, because it doesn't just earn her respect, it earns her faith. Number 4, respect isn't given, it's reflected. Respect isn't something you demand. It's something that returns to you in proportion to the way you treat yourself. You can't lecture someone into respecting you. You have to embody it so fully that it radiates through every word, every pause, every boundary. And yet, this is where most men stumble. They chase respect as if it were a prize, believing it's something a woman grants once you've done enough. But true respect doesn't come from what you do for her. It comes from what you won't do against yourself. A man who lives in alignment with his values naturally commands admiration, even in silence. When he speaks, his words carry weight because they come from a foundation of integrity. When he says no, it's not an act of rebellion, it's a declaration of self-worth. He doesn't waver based on her approval or rejection because his compass isn't external, it's internal. That's the quiet secret women feel, but rarely articulate. They don't respect men who need validation to act. They respect men who act from conviction, regardless of who's watching. But let's go deeper. Respect is not only a reflection of your standards, it's the mirror of your consistency. Anyone can hold a boundary once. Anyone can appear calm for a moment. But respect grows when your words and actions match over time. When you say you'll do something, and you do it. When you set a standard, and keep it, even when no one's looking. That's when people, not just women, begin to feel your authenticity. It's subtle but unmistakable. The way you carry yourself, the patience in your tone, the absence of desperation in your silence. You're not performing strength, you are strength. However, this reflection works both ways. If you betray your own word, if you compromise your peace for attention, if you constantly explain your worth instead of demonstrating it, the mirror breaks. She stops seeing the man she once admired and starts seeing a man who doubts himself. And once a woman senses self-doubt, her respect begins to fade. Not because she's cruel, but because respect cannot survive inconsistency. That's why Stoicism isn't just a philosophy, it's a discipline. It trains you to live according to principles rather than impulses. When you master your inner world, the outer world adjusts. You begin to notice something powerful. You don't have to demand respect anymore because you quietly command it. Your stillness becomes louder than your voice. Your presence becomes proof. And when a woman senses that energy, she instinctively aligns herself with it. not because you control her, but because you inspire her. So remember this: respect doesn't flow one way. It's a reflection, bouncing back and forth between two energies. You respect yourself through discipline. She mirrors that respect through admiration. It's not about dominance or submission. It's about equilibrium. The masculine leads through consistency. The feminine follows through trust. When both exist, respect stops being a struggle and becomes a natural rhythm. And if you ever wonder whether she respects you, don't look at her words. Look at your actions. Because every time you choose strength over reaction, silence over argument, purpose over validation, you polish that mirror again. You remind her and yourself why respect was never something to ask for. It was something to reflect. Number 5, silence speaks louder than effort. There comes a moment in every man's journey when he realizes that words, no matter how passionate, can't force respect. You can explain your intentions, justify your reactions, beg for understanding, but none of it carries the same power as silence. Because silence, when it comes from strength and not fear, speaks the language of certainty. It tells her, I don't need to convince you. I am who I am, whether you see it or not. That's the essence of masculine composure. It's not about withdrawing to manipulate her emotions. It's about retreating into your own presence until your peace becomes undeniable. Women are intuitive. They feel energy long before they analyze words. When you go silent, not as punishment, but as poise, you change the emotional frequency of the connection. Suddenly, she has to sit with her own thoughts. She has to confront the absence of your validation. And that's when your value multiplies. Because respect grows in the space where you stop trying to be understood and start being understood through action. The more still you become, the louder your presence echoes in her mind. However, most men misuse silence. They weaponize it, turning it into passive aggression or control. But true Stoic silence isn't cold, it's calm. It's not avoidance, it's alignment. You're not punishing her, you're preserving yourself. When emotions run high, when tension rises, silence becomes your fortress. You give space for clarity to return. You refuse to engage in chaos because your peace is sacred. And ironically, that restraint commands more respect than any heated explanation ever could. Think of it like this. When a king speaks, his words matter because he doesn't speak often. His silence builds anticipation, authority, presence. It's the same with you. If you're always reacting, explaining, proving, you lose that weight. Your voice becomes noise instead of signal. But when you choose your moments carefully, when your energy remains grounded even in misunderstanding, she begins to notice something different about you. You're not seeking her approval. You're centered in your own truth. That's when curiosity turns into respect, and respect turns into desire. Stillness has power because it leaves room for mystery. And mystery, in the feminine psyche, creates reflection. She starts asking herself questions she never asked before. Why isn't he chasing? Why isn't he explaining? Did I misjudge him? And those questions pull her deeper into your gravity. You see, when you're silent, she can no longer measure your worth by your words. She has to feel it. The Stoic man understands that silence isn't the absence of communication, it's the highest form of it. It's the moment when you stop trying to win and start allowing reality to reveal itself. You become untouchable because you're no longer reacting to emotion, you're responding to truth. And the truth is, respect doesn't grow from noise, it grows from restraint. So, stop trying to speak your way into respect. Let your composure do the talking. Let your absence create contrast. Because When you stop chasing validation and start embodying peace, your silence becomes unforgettable. It doesn't just echo in her mind, it redefines how she sees you. Number 6. Power lies in detachment, not indifference. There's a fine line between indifference and detachment, and only a mature man knows the difference. Indifference is cold, careless, and rooted in ego. Detachment, on the other hand, is warm yet unwavering. It's the quiet confidence of knowing that you can love deeply without losing yourself. Most men confuse letting go with giving up, but detachment isn't about not caring. It's about caring correctly. It's realizing that your emotional stability should never depend on someone else's unpredictability. That's the essence of Stoic power. You control what's within, you release what's beyond. When a man becomes emotionally detached in the right way, everything shifts. He stops chasing outcomes and starts focusing on alignment. He no longer needs to prove his worth because his actions already demonstrate it. And paradoxically, this detachment is what draws women closer, not further away. Why? Because emotional self-sufficiency is magnetic. It communicates that your life has purpose beyond her mood, that your validation doesn't need her approval, and that your world doesn't crumble when she withdraws. Most men give their power away the moment they attach their happiness to how a woman treats them. One bad day, one argument, one unread message, and their entire mood collapses. But the Stoic man refuses to live like that. He understands that love is not possession, it's partnership. He doesn't need constant reassurance because his confidence is self-generated. That inner steadiness creates a calm aura around him, a gravity that both comforts and challenges her. It tells her, "You're free to come and go, but I'm not going to lose myself either way." That's not indifference, that's wisdom. Letting go is one of the hardest disciplines a man can practice. It requires trust in yourself, trust in timing, and faith that what's meant for you won't need to be forced. And yes, it might make her question whether you even care, but that's exactly where attraction grows. Because when she realizes you care deeply but remain centered, she sees a strength she rarely finds: emotional sovereignty. That's when admiration replaces control, respect replaces testing, connection replaces chaos. But detachment doesn't mean avoiding love. It means not begging for it. It means you can show affection without fear, you can express interest without desperation, and you can love someone without surrendering your entire identity. The more you practice that, the more peace replaces anxiety. You start noticing how much more grounded, clear, and powerful you feel when you're not constantly reacting to the highs and lows of emotion. You learn that your presence is enough. In that space, she starts to see you differently. You're not the man who needs her to complete him. You're the man who chooses her from a place of strength. And that choice, free of fear, carries an energy she can't ignore. Because true power never screams, never chases, never clings. It simply stands still and allows the world to come closer. So remember, indifference pushes people away, but detachment draws the right ones near. The moment you stop needing control, you gain it. The second you stop chasing love, you begin to attract it. And the instant you learn to let go, respect finally finds its way back to you. Number 7. The man she can't disrespect because he doesn't disrespect himself. A woman can't respect a man who doesn't respect himself. It's as simple and as brutal as that. You can give her affection, time, devotion, and even sacrifice parts of yourself to make her happy, but if you betray your own values in the process, she'll eventually lose admiration for you, because deep down, every woman is drawn not to comfort, but to certainty. She wants to feel that your words mean something, that your energy carries direction, that your standards are carved in stone, not sand. Self-respect isn't built through appearance or status. It's built through repetition of discipline. Every time you say no to what disrespects your peace, you add another brick to the foundation of masculine authority. Every time you stop yourself from over-explaining, from begging to be understood, or from reacting impulsively, you reinforce that you are a man led by principle, not emotion. That's what makes you untouchable. Because while attraction can fluctuate, respect anchors desire. It's what makes her look at you differently, not as someone to comfort, but someone to trust. Let's be clear. This doesn't mean being arrogant, controlling, or detached from empathy. In fact, it's the opposite. Self-respect allows you to love more clearly because it removes fear from the equation. You don't cling to people or chase their validation because your worth isn't negotiable. You're not afraid of losing her because you've already found yourself. That's the man she can't disrespect. The one who doesn't need approval to stand tall. But this takes practice. It requires you to confront the small ways you give your power away daily. When you text back instantly out of anxiety, when you tolerate behavior that chips at your peace, when you keep explaining yourself to someone who already made up their mind. Every time you break your boundary to please her, you silently teach her to see you as less steady, less certain. Over time, the admiration fades, not because she wants it to, but because you've made it too easy for her to lead emotionally. The Stoic man reverses that pattern. He's calm, but not passive, kind, but not naive, loving, but not dependent. He leads himself first, and in doing so, he naturally leads the relationship. His discipline creates safety. His consistency creates trust. When he speaks, she listens, not out of fear, but out of respect. And when he's silent, his stillness speaks louder than any promise could. Because everything about him radiates balance, the kind that cannot be manipulated or broken. Eventually, she realizes something profound. She can't play with a man who won't play himself. She can't guilt-trip, provoke, or emotionally pull him off center because his respect for himself forms an invisible shield. It doesn't mean he's perfect. It means he's grounded. And that groundedness makes him unforgettable. That's the kind of man she respects the most, not because he demands it, but because he embodies it. A man who walks through the fire of emotion without losing composure. A man who doesn't need to chase, prove, or justify. A man whose peace is power, whose boundaries are law, and whose silence commands more than words ever could. He's not the loudest, he's not the flashiest, but he's the man she never forgets. Because his self-respect taught her what true strength feels like. At the end of it all, a woman can't respect a man who's still chasing approval. Respect doesn't grow from need. It grows from self-assurance. You don't earn it by proving your worth, but by embodying it in silence. So remember, you don't need to be the man every woman wants. You need to be the man every woman respects. Master yourself, and you'll never have to prove your worth again. Before we start, a quick reminder. My complete Stoic couple course is now live at thestoiccouple.podia.com. If you've been learning from these videos, that's just the surface. Inside the course, we go deeper. Mastering attraction, understanding female psychology, and rebuilding your mindset from the inside out. Join once, and you're in for life, with lifetime access to all future courses, books, and new lessons. Plus, you'll be part of our private Stoic community, a brotherhood where men like you grow together in discipline, power, and self-control. It's available in English and Spanish, and you can enroll instantly at thestoiccouple.podia.com or click the link below. Enroll once, grow forever. Let's begin.